Hello and happy Black Business Month. And I want to welcome everyone to another edition of Fridays with Phil. I'm your host, Philip W. Dunn, Program Manager here at USBC. And on behalf of our President, Ron Busby, our board and our staff, I want to thank you all for registering to attend and for your continued support of USBC. Now, before we begin our program, I want to remind you all to continue to register for our webinars at usblackchambers.org/webinars. And then be sure to register your business at buyblack.us. Now, today I have the esteemed honor and privilege to host this very special guest, Chima Burey. He's one of the co-founders of Duke and Dame and an award-winning premium whiskey. Mr. Burey, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing today, Phil?
I'm doing great. Now, you're coming off a lot of great successes. And so I want to jump right into this and I want us to get started. I wonder if you could first just tell us a little bit about your business, what business you're in, and what products you serve.
All right. So my business, or I am co-founder of Duke and Dame Salted Caramel Whiskey, winners now of 10 International Spirit Awards, rated third best flavored whiskey in the world. We're excited about bringing this brand to the market. We actually launched in 2018, August of 2018. So actually this month makes 4 years that we've been on the market. So we are Florida-based. We have expanded into Michigan, New York, and we just recently started in Maryland and DC. We shipped to 38 states, and we are now in 8 Caribbean markets. So the brand has grown significantly since we initially launched. And myself and my co-founder, Amani McCauley, we had this idea of bringing something different to the flavored whiskey space. Traditionally, flavored whiskey is known for being very syrupy, and just known as maybe more or less like a shooter, for example, Fireball. And traditionally, it's not really known for its nuances or its sophistication or complexity. And as a lover of Scotch, whiskey, and bourbon, we really felt that this particular category, even though it was growing exponentially and it really had taken off with all different flavors that were being offered, we just felt that none of them really focused on the whiskey itself. And in doing so, we wanted to create something that included an actual bourbon within the blend, something that was premium, smooth, delicious, and yet without all the sugar that a lot of our competitors have.
Now, so you've been in business a while, and I'd love to hear you describe, your brand. I'd love to hear you describe the product that you sell. What prompted you to start this business, and how did this idea of your business come about?
Well, it actually came about years ago when I was working in finance in New York City. I was at dinner with a bunch of friends, and speaking of Fireball, this is when Fireball first came into the market. And half of the table had tried Fireball and the other half hadn't. And it sparked a conversation after we took the shot. If you could start your own flavored whiskey, what flavor would you choose? So when the conversation came around to me, I said, you know what, I would do something reminiscent of a Werther's Original, or Sugar Babies or Sugar Daddy's Candy. Not sure if you remember that.
I do.
And we were like, wow, what a great idea, because Fireball was reminiscent of Big Red Gum or Atomic Hard Fireball Candy. And of course, that was just dinner conversation. And we all went back to work. No one really took that seriously. And about 3 or so years later, I had moved back to South Florida, where I grew up. And about a year or so after that, my business partner, he had left finance as well. He was traveling around the world and came to hang out in Miami for a few weeks. And one night at a bar, we were talking about our next moves. What exactly are you going to do next? And I told him about this idea. I was like, man, I had this crazy idea years ago. At this point, Tennessee Honey had come out into the market, exploded. And Crown Apple, another popular brand, came out and exploded. So flavored whiskey actually became a category. It wasn't just Fireball on its own. And I was like, man, I had this idea about a salted caramel whiskey. And then we did some research and really developed the idea. He went back to New York. Our kitchens looked like chemistry labs. We were on the phone talking about different recipes and different ways to this change or alter our interpretation of what we wanted. And then lo and behold, we met with the distillery and came up with our formulation. And now we're winning awards and really making an impression on the market.
So this literally started with just an idea, sitting around, having a conversation with friends, to actually ballooning into an actual product. You tested the market, you did your research. And then it doesn't sound like there was a lot of fear of the existing competition. How did you say, hey, we're going to take this to the marketplace from idea to the product, from our kitchen to putting it into distilleries? How did you avoid that whole concept of self-doubt and fear? How did you avoid that?
Great question. I don't think that you can avoid it. I think it's a natural reaction. You know, it's how do you compete against a Crown or a Tennessee Jack? You know, like how do you do that? Because we're just two guys with an idea. And to your point, really that self-belief that my idea is what the consumers want. You know, change happens all the time. Why not with you? And it's a matter of taking that fear and really doing something with it. So how do we harness this fear or this apprehension and really take the necessary steps to give us confidence to say, if we tackle step A, B, and C, then maybe we can accomplish that final goal of D. And we really used our training in finance and just our background in saying, okay, well, let's build a model. Let's see what this would look like on paper. What type of financial investment would this require? How can we develop a flavor profile that we feel us as consumers want versus people who are naturally within the industry? Because oftentimes changes that happen within any industry come from outsiders, really consumers who want a particular product, good or service. And we were like, all right, there's some Bohemians or there's some Goliaths in the industry, yes. However, right now the idea is let's offer something different. So for example, Duke and Dame only has 1 gram of sugar per serving, where our closest competitor is Tennessee Jack Honey at 5 grams of sugar per serving. And then you have Crown above that, and you have Screwball above that, and you have Fireball above that. And so we were like, well, right now as consumers, what's our competitive advantage, or what do consumers want that will allow us to have a competitive advantage, to answer your question? And we will offer something that's natural, no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. And with everyone paying a little bit more attention to what they're congesting and what they're consuming, well, not only is that happening in the kitchen, but that's also happening at the bar. And why not offer a product that's all natural, gluten-free, and with only 1 gram of sugar? And by doing so, we felt that, all right, we can go to market with this. And within this particular space, lastly, what's really important, as consumers, we've all been that person who goes to the liquor store or the grocery market and you get a bottle of wine. You may not know the vineyard, but the bottle looks pretty. And you see a medal or an award that they've won. It's like, all right, well, somebody has validated them. And for us, when we first got into the market, we're like, all right, well, we know our juice is good, as we call it in the industry. We know we have good juice. However, we definitely want our packaging to look well. So we definitely paid attention to that. And then we needed that validation from independent awards. And that combined really gave us the confidence to overcome that fear, because that fear is a natural reaction. So I really want to, hopefully people can get from this conversation, it's okay to have fear, but it shouldn't stop you. You should really harness that to where, how do I methodically and confidently put my business in a position to overcome those hurdles of fear?
I love it. I love it, because that brings me to this next question that I think is really important. We have some businesses at USBC in our local chambers. We have some folks that are newer entrepreneurs. We have some folks that have been in business for a while. You were a finance professional who is now in the premium whiskey business as an entrepreneur. This is a pretty significant leap. I wonder if you could give us 3 pieces of advice for anyone wanting to take a similar leap as yours.
Absolutely. It is a significant leap. Both Amani and myself, our parents and friends were like, really? Going from, working in New York in finance to whiskey, like, what do you guys know about doing this? And so just advice in general, whether it's within the same industry or it's definitely that a big of a leap as Amani and I took, it's really to dream big. I really think that a big part of entrepreneurship is this crazy idea that we have in our head that we know that this product, good or service, whatever widget we may have, there's a need for that within the market. And so that audacity to dream, like, wow, like, yes, I can come up with an idea that the public wants, and to really hold on to that. Don't let anyone really suppress that. Two, plan this idea and plan the steps that it would take to bring it to market. And what I mean by that is doing the research, talking to people within the industry, networking your way to find people who have done what you're trying to do. And a lot of times you'll find that people are willing to share their secret sauce because your widget is just that much different from theirs, or they welcome the company within that space because the people who are currently in that space know that there's enough for everyone. So even within the whiskey space, we're friends, great friends with Uncle Nearest. So Fawn and her team, they assist us whenever we need help. And it's great to where now the younger ones that are coming into the market, we assist them. And so it works that way because there's so much in the marketplace for everyone. And so don't be afraid to ask people within that particular industry for advice, or whatever your fears may be, and they'll give you advice that's dealing with those hurdles. And lastly, stay humble and hungry, right? So no matter what initial success you may have, there's always something out there, to stay even keeled, stay on the mark. Because for us, for example, when we first got into the market, within 2 weeks of us launching our brand, we got the approval from Total Wine. And Total Wine is like the Disney World of spirit stores. And it's at least 12 to 18 months before you can get into having a conversation with them, much less getting approved. And even if you do get approved, maybe they might give you 1 or 2 stores to just see how your brand will progress before they really take you into the family. After 2 weeks, we talked to our distributor. Oh, we got Total Wine. Yeah, well, next week they're going to let us know how many stores we got. We actually got the entire state of Florida all at once, which was incredible, and yes, that initial success. And then right after that, the next largest retailer we got, and the next one. And then we started making, headways in different accounts, and there are articles that are being written about us and things of that nature. But we stay hungry, our heads are down, and we really push ahead, and we never get too high, never get too low, because you're going to experience that ups and downs as you try to push your brand forward. So stay humble, stay hungry. And I think those 3 things will definitely help any entrepreneur who's listening in.
You actually gave us more than 3. You said to dream big, to plan and network, ask for help, stay humble, and stay hungry. So hopefully for the folks that are watching and will watch later, they'll pick up on those key things that you need in order to be a successful entrepreneur. Now, you touched on some other things earlier in our conversation where you talked about the skill set, right? What skills, if someone is currently, not an entrepreneur right now, what skills would you say that, an entrepreneur would need? You have a finance background, you have, an understanding of financials, you have an understanding of cash flows. What else should entrepreneurs look to polish up as they pursue their business?
Another great question. Phil, as an entrepreneur, one of the things that Amani and I are doing constantly, we're wearing different hats daily, and you're right, because of our background, we happen to do the finance portion of this business really well. However, another big part of being an entrepreneur is knowing how to market your brand and yourself, because you are the face of your brand. And to be honest, that's one of the things that we have the hardest time doing, because we're typically, tend to be a little bit more reserved, not as much as, hey, look at us and let's promote and push ourselves. So our marketing team and our PR team, they're constantly on us like, hey guys, are you posting? Are you letting the world know what you're doing and things of that nature? So having an awareness around marketing, not only your brand, but yourself, because your customers want to know you, they want to know your story. They want to know what drives you, what makes you tick, and what made you want to create the brand that they're now behind and purchasing. So knowing that that's going to be a big part of what you're doing. Obviously, the financial piece is big. We meet entrepreneurs all the time that don't have the same background that we have. And what they have to do, they're like, well, you know what? I make my widget really well, whatever it is, whether it's cookies, cakes, a shirt, or you know, their restaurant, whatever it might be, they do that widget really well. They might be an attorney, but they're not really good with numbers. And so you have to be good with numbers. So you have to source that. You have to find someone you trust, whether it's an accountant, someone who's going to help you build out your business plan or to help you create a model around your idea. You have to go seek that help because that's really important. And then another skill set, you have to develop, you have to tell the world about who you are. So marketing and PR happen to be two different things, right? So sometimes people lump that into each other, but you have to figure out how do you start spreading the word about who you are and really putting out there. So you can find people who have their own audiences and plug into their network. And so having not only how do you market your brand, how does it look, you know, the appeal of the brand on the shelf, how do you take pictures of it, things like that. That's the marketing aspect of it. But now the PR side of it, like the megaphone that says, hey, this is who we are, this is where you find us, you really have to add that component too. And so I think collectively between those two, the finance and obviously, hopefully, whatever widget you're making, you're doing a really good job at that. You know, so of course that's first and foremost. But those are the things that or skill sets and or things that they have to source in order for what the advice that I would give them to make sure those things are in place in order for them to really catapult their business as they get started.
That's awesome. Again, you over-delivered. You gave us, you know, the marketing, the finance, sourcing talent, and, you know, seeking help where, you know, there may be some gaps, product quality, service quality, PR services, PR communication, you know, all of those I think go into it. So definitely, you know, some good responses there. Now, I want to know, we touched on all the successes. I wonder if you can share a little bit about the challenges that you've encountered, particularly in the last couple of years.
Sure. One of the challenges right out the gate was just, what do you do? Because we weren't from the beverage space, you know, we weren't from hospitality. What do you do? And how do we get this idea that's here onto a shelf? Because for us within the spirit space or the wine space, we're great consumers. You know, we love wine or we love our spirits or we love to entertain as we go to dinner. Let's bring a bottle of something to our host or hostess. And so we're really familiar with it from the consumer space, but we have no idea what it takes to produce it or to be a supplier within the space. And that was really what led our journey, you know, to, as I mentioned before, to network, to find other local small craft distillers or other small brands. And what we did, we really met a young man that owned a tequila, another person that owned a rum, another person that owned a vodka. And we talked about their challenges and what they did and how they approached the market. And we learned from some of their mistakes, and some of them shared some of their errors. And well, if I had to do it all over, I would do this, I would do that. And then our personalities between Amani and myself, it's like, okay, well, this is going to be our new approach to the market, our fresh eyes to the market. And that's definitely one of the biggest hurdles, just not knowing the industry or readily having a network to do it. For example, if I want to open a restaurant, I know about 20 people today that I could talk to. If I wanted to open a barbershop or clothing store, if I wanted to open up an accessory store, whatever it might be, I know a ton of people to talk to within our network, within our group. If I wanted to open up a hotel, things like that. But within this space, the information within our network is so small. And then you may hear of another brand, but how do you get to that person, you know? And that was one of our biggest hurdles, I feel. And also just knowing how do we bring it to market? Not being from the space, having to do that research. So that wasn't as difficult, but it's tedious. So you have to be willing to be a student, you know, and you asked earlier, and one of your earlier questions was for someone who's jumping to a totally different industry, you have to be willing to be a student within that industry. You have to be humble enough to ask questions, to open books, to read, to learn. And that's something that Amani and I, we were willing to do and wanting to do because we're excited about this new industry. and just knowing that you don't know everything. And every day for us is still a learning opportunity. So definitely those two things would be, I would say, our biggest hurdles initially.
That's awesome. And I wonder if you could tell us about some of the tactical challenges that you encountered. I know for everyone, we experienced shortages over the last 2 years. Talk to us how you navigated through those challenges as well.
Well, I'm really proud of what we did during COVID. We were just in business maybe like a year and a half, but leaning on our experience in understanding finance and systems and flows and things of that nature, we realized that the world was shutting down. And at that time, our bottle was being made in France, and logistics were becoming harder and harder, or slower and slower, let's say, or production, and then delivery of those goods. And for example, to make this bottle, there's so many pieces to it, right? You have the top, you have the bottle itself, you have the decoration of it, and each bottle comes in a case. And so even though you might see this on the shelf and it's like, oh, this is pretty, it's great, there's so many different pieces that we have to get together in order to assemble Duke and Dane. And what we noticed when our supplier for the bottle we had made an order, and our supplier was like, well, this is the last one we're shipping right now because we don't know when the next one's going to be. And we were like, whoa. And at that moment, we scrambled and we found a local supplier of glass here in the US. We made a pivot and we said, okay, well, we need to make everything here within our borders. At worst case scenario, we can still truck within the United States. We understand that shipping is having its challenges, but man, if we can do everything domestically, we can really ensure that the bottle will remain on the shelf. So not only from a logistics or, for example, a packaging standpoint, we had some initial hurdles that we were able to get over early, but as a new brand, a big part of our industry is tastings or activations. And we have to have people try this versus our competitors. So they have to learn what's in the market. One of the things that all of our customers tell us when they walk into a Total Wine, for example, they love going around to the different tables and sampling and getting to know new products. But during the pandemic, that shut down. Mm-hmm. That was no longer a thing. People loved going to events and galleries and that shut down too. So as a new brand that really focuses on introducing their new product to the world, we no longer could do that. So the brands that really did extremely well were what we call legacy brands or global brands, like the Tito's or the Grey Goose or the Hennessy or the Crowns and things, Jack Daniels, things that people knew already. Right. And what we tried to do there, all right, how do we market ourselves differently now during the pandemic? And another pivot we made was to contact all of our friends who was in music and media, to where now the DJs were wearing our polos and our t-shirts and our hats, and they had signage behind them. And we did bottle giveaways, we did hat giveaways. And as the world was now turning into social media to listen to music and for their entertainment, they saw Duke and Dame everywhere. And so our sales actually grew over 25%. The company grew 25% during the pandemic, where a lot of companies that started like us went under during the pandemic. And so that was another pivot that was really critical for us.
Wow. And see, I love that because, you didn't stop at each one of these challenges. Average person, when they get a challenge or they get hit by something like that, it's all over. And so for you guys, you pivoted, you rerouted, you strategized, and you stayed in the game, and then came out even better on the other side. So I love to hear that. Yeah. Well, I wonder if you could share just a little bit about what motivates you to stay in business as an entrepreneur.
Well, the motivation behind first, we love what we do. We really do. And it is a labor of love. We individually work more than 12, 13, 14 hours a day. That's just a part of it. And one, loving or finding something that you love what you do is critical, and not just doing something out of necessity, because I really feel that eventually you're going to get tired of doing that. And I know it's cliche, or find something you love and you'll never work, but it's true. We really love what we do. And that is one. And also the task isn't complete. We really want to introduce Duke and Dame to the world. We really love our brand. We love the responses that we've been getting from our customers who've had a chance to try it. We love the conversations that we have with our customers that congratulate us on just completing the task of starting the business. In addition to tasting it and loving it, Phil, we get congratulated on following through on our idea. And that motivates so many people. And hearing that from our customers has been really just energizing for us to continue to do what we do. Just knowing that we have an impact, or people are looking to us, or it motivates people to start their own thing or do their own thing. We really find some joy in that. But the day-to-day grind of it is worth it because we love it first and foremost. And we're really passionate about not only bringing Duke and Dame to the market, but really seeing how we can help other people accomplish their dreams too.
I love it. I love it. The passion is there. The product is there. It's a quality. It's reaching the marketplace and then helping others. In this last couple of questions I want to talk about the Buy Black conference that Duke and Dame was featured at last year in 2021. You were one of the inaugural brands at our Buy Black Spirits Night, and we had a huge success that night, but you had a singular success. I won't go into it, I'll let you share it, but I wonder if you can tell us about your experience at USBC's Buy Black conference last year.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is a success story. And it is how we were able to leverage the relationship with USBC and just utilize the opportunity. And I think that's what most entrepreneurs want. We just want an opportunity to showcase ourselves, our brand, whatever widget it might be. And kudos to you and Ron and the organization for allowing us to have that opportunity. And we, in our conversation, all transparency, and I love this question because I am going to be transparent. I remember in our initial conversation about it, I was like, Phil, it's great. I'm excited to be a part of the conference, but I really want to see how we can get into MGM and be a part of the MGM portfolio. And I know that was an ambitious ask. And you told me, like, Chima, the opportunity's there. If they like it, if you're able to showcase your product, that's a conversation that you will have with them, but the opportunity to have the conversation is what we can facilitate. And that shot is what I needed, and I want entrepreneurs to understand that you just need a shot, and you need to be ready to make your elevator pitch, as they call it, or to be able to showcase your brand and take advantage of the opportunity. There's no guarantee that the USBC is going to give you anything. However, being a member, being a part of it, knowing that there is an opportunity is really what I wanted. And then traveled to DC to part within or in the conference, and really wowed everyone there. And I was really happy with that. And I knew that just given the opportunity and showcase who we are as a brand, what we taste like, what our cocktails would taste like, and then meeting the staff and the management team at MGM and being able to introduce myself and the brand really gave us the opportunity to be a part of the MGM portfolio. So we left that conference with the confirmation that we would be joining the MGM portfolio. And now you can find Duke and Dame throughout the entire casino at MGM National Harbor. So it was a great success story for us. And we're really thankful for the opportunity that USBC gave us.
You see, we love that story because it speaks to the quality of your brand. It speaks to your being prepared to have the conversations. It speaks to MGM believing in our businesses and wanting to do business with Black-owned businesses and brands. So I'm so glad you shared that story. Now, tell us a little bit about how folks can find Duke and Dame.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we would like everybody to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Duke and Dame Whisky. And they can also visit our website at www.dukeanddame.com. And they can also purchase on our website as well. So on the website, you'll be able to see the different states that we ship to, and they'll be able to order and taste Duke and Dame, and also find recipes that they'll be able to enjoy for themselves and share with their friends and family.
Awesome, awesome. I have a bottle of Duke and Dame here at home, and I really enjoy the brand. I enjoy the whiskey. I enjoy talking to you. I wonder if you have any last thoughts that you want to share with our audience.
Well, I really wanted to reiterate for those entrepreneurs who are out there with your idea or you've already started your business, continue to push, continue to network, continue to find ways to expand your brand and find like-minded individuals in and out of your industry to where you can get ideas from, you can re-energize yourself and motivate yourself to keep pushing forward. There's always help out there. I know that we are very open to sharing our time and our resources with people who are within the industry as well. And I think you'll find other people within your respective industries who are willing to do that too. So you're not alone. Keep pushing. Don't give way to fear. And yes, there's enough out there for all of us. So go get it.
There you have it, folks. Chima Burey of Duke and Dame. We want to thank you on behalf of our president, Ron Busby, our board, and our staff. I want to thank you all. I want to thank our audience for tuning in. And until next time, remember, it's our time, and we'll see you at Fridays with Phil at USBC. Thank you all.